We're live finally.
We're live?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll call this meeting to order. Everybody rise, we'll say the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We'll have public comment on anything not on the agenda. Don't see any public here, so we'll go ahead and pass that. Do we have any minutes for the last meeting, June 11th?
No.
Okay. All right, we'll go on to new business. We're gonna continue to review the amendments to the subdivision regulations, make recommendations to the Broadwater County Commissioners. So I believe we should be starting on page 62 with streets and roads, correct?
That is correct.
62?
Page 62 on the new. The old one is page 56.
62 is not the road.
Midway down.
Should be 5H.
That's not my page 62.
No, that's not. That's not even close.
Oh, these are...
printed the one off of the website for you, Janine and Mike, because that was the handiest one to get to.
So
But they
how
should
is
be-
it?
They should be identical in the streets and roads section. I don't know what was added.
But where is it?
So look on the-
5H, as in
Oh.
Henry.
Oh, streets and roads, okay.
Okay, did you find it, Mike?
So, do we know if there's any differences between what they have and what we have?
Well, the online version, hopefully, I had hoped was the same as what we were using. So I can't say for certain.
And it's interesting because this one has highlights.
Yes. Oh, okay, yes, that is the update Kay took from the last planning board
Oh,
meeting,
yeah.
the planning board's recommendations, added them in and made all of the highlights, and that's what's posted online.
So the highlights are,
The changes that were proposed, because your previous version that you had did not have highlights. So at the last meeting, we went through and highlighted all the changes, and then there were some areas that we wanted to add in where it was basically like instructions. Like if you amend a plat, you do this. Previously, it was a reference, like as in see section blah blah. But
Right.
the planning board said we actually want that, not just a reference. And so that's why the pages are off. Because what page are you on for 5H?
65.
Yeah, because those instead of the references being there for the amendment to the final plat, amendment to the preliminary plat, the actual instructions were plugged in, which extended the pages. And those highlights are based on the conversation at the last planning board meeting. So they're not changes that happened because of the last planning board meeting. Those are the highlights that Kay went in and highlighted for us to show where the changes from the original regulation, like the one that we have adopted. Does that make sense?
Clear as mud, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the planning board had asked for highlights, and so at the last meeting, we went through and highlighted everything that was changed from the current regulation to this proposed regulation.
Well, I'm
And so
glad
the
they
version-
were. I'm glad they were able to get it and we weren't.
Well, it occurred after the planning board meeting, and that's what we walked through and did.
I'm just saying.
So the old regulation, you should be on page 56.
Okay. Okie dokie.
So what do you have for highlights on the streets and roads?
Oh, yeah. Do you want me to read what it says?
Did we go over that already?
We went through the highlights, but we didn't talk about this section, because we did, where were we at on that?
Yeah.
We got started on this,
We
didn't
got
we?
started on
Yeah,
streets and roads
and it
and
was-
then stopped because there were some things that we had questioned.
So do you know
I
what the
think it
change
was
is?
G, roadway dedication and easements. I have that circled.
Well, on the 5H, at the very beginning,
So do
they
I.
added roads
Assuming
accessing,
abutting
abutting,
or
or
serving.
serving 2 or more parcels or dwellings are considered roads.
Right.
Which,
Right.
which differentiates from driveway,
Right.
from that, yeah.
So it used to be that you could have a driveway going to 2 homes.
Mm.
Correct.
And so now they're changing that so only one driveway can go to a home?
One driveway per home, correct.
And who made that decision?
That's one of the proposed edits. It's not a decision yet.
Yeah.
So that, feel free to discuss that. I mean, I guess I'm not the chair, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interject. That's one of the proposed edits, and again, that's what the planning board is looking at, the proposed edits. So if that's something you feel strongly about, contrary to that proposed edit, now would be the appropriate time to discuss it.
Do you have any comments on that?
So the new definition of driveway is 21 at the beginning. It's my page 3. It's probably the same in yours. If you wanted to look at that, I don't know if that's helpful or if I'm just throwing rocks in the water.
No, that's procedures. Let me find definition. Which definition?
Page 22 should be the,
No, it's on page 3.
yeah,
Okay, number 21.
21.
Driveway is vehicle access to no more than one dwelling or two premises. Well, I mean, I don't know, what was the purpose of changing that? What was the thought
Good.
process behind changing that?
Because remember there was, I don't recall which one, and I don't know that it's appropriate to start throwing out. I don't know the rules on that, but there was one where it was a,
It was up at Antelope.
yeah, well, there's there, and then there's another one that I was thinking of there. It was, there was a private drive, but then they added another dwelling, and so it's just odd.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was,
I think there was the one up off here off the 284 or whatever it was.
yeah, right, out here, the old
Medill Place.
Medill place, yeah. Yeah, they had to come up with a new easement or a new approach off the highway to avoid that. They had to change something.
To avoid using that private drive?
In order to avoid making a driveway a road that had to be committed to public road standards. A driveway does not have to be brought up to or maintained at public road standards. Doesn't have to be built to public road standards. But if it serves 2 dwellings, this is what this proposal is saying, is that if it serves 2 dwellings, it's a road. It needs to be brought to public road standards and maintained in that manner.
So on the letter,
Well, the county has the option to maintain. I always forget that.
on the letter from Schaber Surveying, she talks about this. Limiting this to 1 dwelling or having the requirement to build an engineered road to county subdivision road standards to serve 2 homes will only hurt county residents considering splitting their property. This is a large expense and could lead to a landowner creating additionally smaller lots in order to justify the expense of building a road. This wouldn't impact large developers who generally want to create as many lots as possible and seem to go against the county's growth policy plan. So there's that perspective.
In a way, I don't buy that'll prevent them from splitting their property, because they're gonna split their property, they're gonna split their property. I don't know, what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on it?
So there's one road, one driveway out there right now that serves 2 houses, and then they sold part of the property. So is he gonna be able to attach to that driveway too? What's gonna stop him?
Well, yeah, I mean, now, there's nothing, and that's kinda like the thing we thought, we said at up at Antelope, is like, I think, if you say it's okay, and then they split up one of those again, if they can, you know, but I think if they split it up again, don't they have to do can they split once it's been platted, can they split it again? Without doing a minor subdivision? And then if you do a minor subdivision, then you have to come back under your road regulations, right?
That should be correct, right?
Typically, but, you know, you could use an exemption, like a family transfer. And then there's no regulation. I think, you know, this instance, we've run into it, quite a few times, where, say there's a parcel, and this road easement goes across the parcel as a driveway easement to reach maybe some back lots that are using that as a shared driveway, but this lot that's encumbered by the easement can't use the easement because the developer is proposing it as a driveway, which does follow our regulations. A driveway can only serve 2 or more, but so it's a way to circumvent trying to engineer a road. And then once those lots are all built on, and this person comes in that has the encumbrance on it, that has the easement across it, and says, well, I want my driveway off of here, the easement's on my property, the county has to say, no, I'm sorry, you can't do that. I know it's on your property, but look at the language that says you can't use it. It just doesn't sit well with a lot of people. That, oh, I have a 30-foot easement across my property that I absolutely cannot use.
Well, so it kinda makes sense, I mean, to me, then, it's kinda like a driveway is a driveway to one piece of property. You know, and if people are gonna start splitting it up, and you wanna have 2, well, then I guess you're gonna have a road. Because, like you said, they could start splitting it up, and then you run into that issue where, what? Now I'm splitting it up even farther, or I do this, or whatever, and now kinda makes sense. 1 to 1.
And so I can tell you, like, from the addressing perspective, because I also assign the addresses for the county, I do run into that frequently. You know, where people come in, they say, well, I want my address off of this easement or off of this driveway. Oh, you can't. Or you have to work with your neighbors to name it because my GIS system won't allow for 3 addresses off of 1 point of entry, which is, you know, off of the main road. So then they end up naming it, but they don't have to go through the process of engineering, constructing, or coming up with any road maintenance or anything that typically should be required, which creates a whole other problem.
And that's fine for the first 2 people that bought it, but then as you go down the road and it gets sold, and it gets sold, and then it's sold, and.
Where you put a mother-in-law home on it that needs a separate address,
you know,
and
it's like,
yeah.
It's up to you guys too, but it kinda makes sense to me, 1 to 1. 1 driveway, 1 road, 1 driveway, 1 home.
Any other
Or
discussion?
1 lot, I guess, it's 1 driveway to 1 lot.
Mhm.
Yeah. You have anything to add on that?
So that doesn't make these roads public roads, right? These are still private roads. They don't have to be public.
They would have to be dedicated to the public through the subdivision process. Because all roads within subdivisions, you know, if you're doing a subdivision, any of your subdivision roads have to be dedicated to the public, which doesn't mean county, it just means dedicated to the public for the public's benefit.
So what if you gated?
Someone can probably take that gate down. I mean, not the county's not gonna take the gate down, but.
Any other
Have you come
discussion?
across something like that, Mike, as a commission, have you, I mean, I'm just curious,
My
I'm,
family's farm was divided on a family land transfer,
right,
and we have a driveway that has 2 people on it right now. It only goes a certain distance, and then from that piece, it goes for 10 acres, that's a private easement before the person that's in the back between that landowner and the person on the back's landowner.
there's 10 acres between the home, or the lots.
There's 10 acres between the lots, yeah.
But that one's grandfathered in, but then it would be in the future, if you split up those lots, that if you split up that land and created more lots, you're gonna have to have a road.
You would anyway if you've already accessing 2.
What's that?
You would anyway, because you already have 2 homes off of one driveway,
And that's the max you're
and
allowed.
that's the max you're allowed now, right?
Well, all of those lots can be only subdivided once, and most likely they would all be family land transfers.
Which would not fall into the subdivision regulations because their family transfers are exempt from regulation.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay.
I had a statement from the public. If you all could use your microphones and speak into your microphones a little better, please. Probably myself.
Testing.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
That includes you, Mike. Okay.
Do we have to vote on each one?
No,
No.
just at the end,
Accept
sorry,
them all, or
I
whatever.
should probably defer to the chair, but yeah, then you would vote on your proposed, amendments.
Okay.
So what was the next one under streets and roads?
I have
A, roadways?
Roadways was changed. I'm with Dallas. I had G circled for some reason.
G is also highlighted over here, so, but on mine, A, B, C, D, and G are all highlighted.
That's because they are in a different spot, different page in the old regulations. They just moved them up into this spot. If I can figure out where it was again.
Wait, what page is G on?
64.
Oh,
Which would be, what, 67 for Janine? I think yours is 3 pages.
oh no, I mean in the old.
Oh.
Not for me.
It's like
Oh,
56.
sorry.
Well, I had it earlier.
Are you sure that, oh no, they're there, they're just,
Okay, here they are. And the old regs are on page 59. That's where A starts. Roadways, I think everything is pretty much the same. Under the headings, they're just in a different spot.
page
59 and 60 is where A, B, C, D,
Oh,
and
I
F
see,
are.
roadways. They made this easy to follow, didn't they? Jesus.
Yeah.
So what about, so if
60.
this is streets and roads, what happened to A?
It's it's VII on page 60 in the old regs. It's roadway dedication and easements. In the old
That's
regs.
G, yes.
That's G. Oh, sorry. Maybe I'm behind. Are we looking for something else?
No, I'm
I
just
got
like
it.
on the old ones, the A, the adjacent and off-site road improvements attributable to the subdivision. Did they just remove those?
On what page?
56.
56.
Because if you look at 56, streets and roads, V through H,
Right.
there's A, adjacent and off-site road improvements attributable to the subdivisions. And then you have I, which is maintaining level of service. So, what did they do with all that stuff?
They moved it to page 65 on mine, which is, what, 68 or 9 for you?
Oh, frickin' heck. Oh my God.
K.
Okay, I see.
So
On G.
everything's the same, they just swap places with it, is what they did.
I know, but it's not the same, so, you know, it's like, I
Right.
can't even look at this, it's like, okay.
So on G, it looks like they added the word full for full public use and access.
For which one?
For G.
G on the new ones?
Uh-huh.
So what did you say they added?
The word
Full.
full to, dedicated for full public use and access, and it doesn't have the word full
Oh,
on the old.
For public use and access,
Mhm.
okay. Okay, is there any discussion on that? Now, these new ones, they pretty much took out of the MACO
That is correct.
regulations. Okay, is there any other discussions on that?
Are you just talking about G?
Yes. So then they took out subdivision roads out of the old regulations under this subheading. They went to roadway maintenance, which was VII, and they changed it to H.
Well,
Okay, they moved that section C in the old regs to letter N in the new subdivision roads. On page 69.
Mm.
there's, so under, before that, on page 65 of your new regulations, under B, relation to subdivided areas, that's been changed. So that's back at B. And you're already up to G.
Section B, you said?
Relation and subdivision areas,
Yeah, relation to subdivided areas.
and that is
Page
on,
62 in ours.
62 on ours, yeah.
and it's on the old regulations, page 59 and 60. They added an entire sentence at the end, which states, "A condition may be imposed to provide for such continuation of roadways between adjacent subdivided parcels."
So how I would read that would be if you have a subdivision and we have, sometimes we call them half streets that go out to the boundaries of that subdivision, if another subdivision on the perimeter were to connect.
So then you're saying we could make it a condition that they have to do that?
Correct. I mean, that we could make a recommendation, but a condition may be imposed to provide for such continuation of roadways between adjacent subdivided parcels. Yeah, you could add that condition.
Didn't we have one recently in Three Forks where they wanted to go between subdivisions and it was like, hey, no.
Yeah.
And then so the other subdivision wouldn't have, the older subdivisions, let's say, if it was an older established subdivision, and then that condition was put forth, the older subdivision wouldn't have a say in it, correct?
No, because the roads would be dedicated to the public, or if the roads were dedicated.
Right, so they could be imposed with more traffic from a newer subdivision that they had never intended, so that could be like at us, where we blocked that easement going through there. The commissioners could very well say, no, I'm sorry, we can allow this. Too bad, so sad for you.
A little different with adding an easement to external lands. Because you as a subdivision owner, as a lot owner in a subdivision, did not buy it with the knowledge that that easement went to the outside of your property, right? So then it was being imposed on you. So I think that would be a different situation. If it was a subdivision that already had those easements,
But what if they're new roadways?
but if they're existing easements.
But if it's a new roadway, say one road ends here, and then you have your new lots, and that's where they build their road, they're like, well, we wanna connect to that road there.
Yeah, if they're dedicated to the public.
Yeah.
And you as a I'm sorry, I don't mean to pick on you.
Oh, no, that's
Looking
okay.
at you as I'm saying to you. As a subdivision lot owner, you know, you have to make yourself aware of this in your own development. Are there any easements that could expand the use of your roads?
Thoughts?
I think this is where we were starting to come up against the rubber on the road isn't there another spot in here where it starts to talk about where we were at least thinking about what's the fair share to charge? So there's an established, well-maintained subdivision, and then there's another one gonna add another 10 trips, 20 trips, 50 trips a day on the existing subdivisions associations roads, because it's their roads dedicated, or is it dedicated to the public, but
Privately maintained.
privately maintained.
Right.
And so I think that's where we were starting to come up against a real kind of a rock and a hard place, is to say it's this percentage or that percentage, or this is the tough part.
That's where I'm having an issue with, is you have these privately maintained roads, but everybody can use them. And then if you start adding access to them all from different places as things start to get gelled together, as this 100 acres and this 100 acres and this 200 acres and this 500 acres, they all start getting gelled together. And yet everybody is, you know, because nothing's a county road, everybody has privately maintained roads, but everybody has access to them, you know. So you really start running into a problem where older established areas are gonna start getting the brunt of that maintenance. And you know, it's not fair to them, so I think it's something that really needs to be thought about.
The other, the other side to that is, you want the public ambulance, or, you know, to get to you.
Well, no, that's why I'm
I
like,
mean,
that's why,
it's-
but
it's
that's like,
such-
what's the solution? So like, what's
Yeah.
the solution to that, you know? How do other counties do that? How do other cities do that? How do other places that have gone from rural to more populated areas, how have they combated something like that? You know, what's kind of the solution for that, you know?
Yeah.
I think we
And-
need to investigate, I think we need to do a little bit of investigating, or somebody does, I don't know how that goes about, but, you know, how is this mitigated in other places? Cause if it's starting to be a problem here, it was a problem somewhere else, you know? And is it, you know,
And to add to that conundrum, Mike has brought up several times, what's gonna happen when, I mean, we've come to a subdivision that is on the boundary line with Jefferson County. But there's no, it's miles to the next freeway exit. So what are we gonna do? How are we going to accommodate our neighbors to the
adjoining the
any
counties,
adjoining
right?
counties, you
Yeah.
know, in this case to the west? You know, what are we gonna do? How are we going to, you know, I mean, how do their subdivision regs align with ours? I mean, I don't know if that is a problem, but I can see it, the potential is
Becoming a
there.
problem.
The potential is there for a pretty big problem to, you know, because they're likely going to have to access that land through Broadwater County as it is now. I don't see MDT adding another exit for a while. I mean, they haven't even added another exit in Belgrade in, what, 15 years, and as desperately as they need that. So Three Forks ain't gonna come for a long time.
Well, and the reality of that one down there is that road's probably gonna be on the Broadwater County side of the border, because the county has an easement through there. And the thing is, we had to go to a meeting with Jefferson County Commissioners, because the guy was gonna put in a shooting range over there that crossed the border. And they approved a substandard to our standards road mix material. And we told them, you're not putting any of that on Broadwater County's road. But as soon as you cross the line, Jefferson said it was okay to use that dirt, which wasn't up to standards.
Do we have the full width easement along, on Broadwater
Yeah, I
County
believe it
side?
is.
We could put in a full, it's not a half and half is what I'm saying, not half would be Broadwater, half would be,
No, the easement is all in Broadwater.
it's all in Broadwater, okay.
But the adjacent landowner in Jefferson County
Wanted it,
has a road right there. It's his private road.
In-
And people from this subdivision, he had allowed emergency travel on that road, but all of a sudden, they just assumed that they could all drive that road. So consequently, he ended up shutting the road off.
oh. And that road was in Jefferson County.
That road was in Jefferson County, but it's his private
His
road
private road.
on his ranch.
I see. Huh.
But-
Yeah.
What I kind of foresee is, I think part of the issue is this privately maintained roads. You go to most different places and there's very few privately maintained roads. I mean, if you have walled off HOAs where the public isn't allowed access, then there's some privately maintained. But I think that's where we're gonna start running into our issues, is with all these subdivisions and our definition of privately maintained roads, that we're gonna start running into a lot of problems. Because people aren't, yet, like you said, why should you pay for the maintenance of the road and 500 houses down the road get to drive over it? You know? I mean, I don't know what the solution is, but maybe it's really something we should think about. And, you know, is this a condition we want to put in there right now? Because then,
You know, the other one that we had was down there was where the people built the fence right down the middle of the road. And the people were coming through that subdivision, but they proposed to negotiate between the homeowners association and the developer. The county doesn't need to get involved in that at all. That's between this developer and the already subdivision. And that's up to that homeowners association to negotiate with that developer. Actually, it should be up to the developer to go to the homeowners association and negotiate what that fee is.
but here,
Oh.
this is just saying we can put it in as a condition. There's no HOA, there's no developer. I mean, you know, it's like, the planning board or the commission can make it a condition.
We,
That,
I think
that
what
they
he's
have
saying is, I mean, we can, but that's a little more hands-off. Because we're saying the only condition that we're giving them is you have to give him access to get to his property if that's what he desires. But then after that, you guys figure it out or go to court. Maybe that's really what, it's a private deal. It's a private treaty between two, you know, entities.
well, didn't you just not make it not private when you did this? Because it's public access. That means I can go up there, I can drive off from anywhere.
But it's not a county road.
No, but it's public access. So
Right.
everybody and his brother can be driving back there whenever they want, however they want.
Right.
So you've just
That's-
given the whole world access to it.
And honestly, that's part of it, I think. If you want to gate it, that's one thing. But I don't know how you subdivide without allowing anybody to drive
And I
it.
understand that, but where I have the problem is, I don't have a problem with it, where I'm bringing up a point is, you're gonna put the onus of maintenance on people that aren't even using the road.
But you could look at a previous subdivision that we have reviewed. So if we left this wording in here, a condition may be imposed, because we had a lot of public comment and concern about that. So then we can either A, leave it up to the developer and the HOA to work out their deal, or we can make sure, based upon public comment and public proof and, you know, the whole process, that would give us the ability to ensure that maybe the agreement between the landowner or the developer and the HOA is adequate. Does everyone get what I'm saying, or am I?
I understand, but then you have to put that in writing, because you remember, you can't, the thing about these regulations or whatever is, you cannot leave anything up to, like, interpretation, or let's hope that the homeowner association and the developer work together, you know?
No, I understand that, but in the instance of that previous one, we had a lot of very specific, provable information that the public brought to us, and that allows us, with this condition, that we potentially could put a condition as long as we're getting information from the public that is provable and reasonable, and does that make
Right.
sense? Okay.
So you're saying that, but the condition is just to allow for access from one to the other. It's not for, it's just for allowing them to have access to it. So you're saying part of that condition to have access would be all this other stuff, like the cost bearing and things of that nature?
I'm saying it could be. Is that an accurate interpretation of that sentence?
Or like a road maintenance agreement
Mhm.
between the two. Well, you can't put the road maintenance agreement on the existing though. Can't require them to participate.
Because this one just talks about continuation of roadways. Because then there is a whole other section that is for road maintenance. So,
So could we get an example of what a condition might be in this specific?
oh, because there is the roadway maintenance here. It's on the page 60, my 67. It's part of, it's right after G, so it's H.
And maybe, you know, that, maybe that language is simply there in the chance that the time arises, that the planning board feels the need to impose a condition. And
Right.
subsequently the commissioners. So it's just putting the developer on notice that, hey, a condition may be included. We're not going to tell you what that condition looks like because it'll
We
be
don't
on
know
a
what it
case-by-case
is.
basis, depending
Right.
on the subdivision.
But I think we just have never had anything in there before that allowed for
Right.
the continuation of a road from one subdivision to the next subdivision. You know, so here what we're doing is we're opening it up. You know, so if we're gonna open it up, we better know what we're doing.
So section K might also help on that because you have the maintaining level of service, traffic impact corridor where the subdivision, if they're gonna add on to it, they have to come up with ways of maintaining the road, cover, sharing the costs and that kind of stuff too. I believe that will work there.
Right, which that's where a traffic impact study would come into play, right? Where a developer, if you're
Correct.
connecting to an existing subdivision, would say, okay, well, I'm going to do a traffic impact study that shows what the current level of traffic is and then what my anticipated traffic is to determine what that level of service looks like. Are we at local number 1, local number 2, minor, major? What are we? And then secondary developer or subsequent developer is responsible for bringing it up to that level of service.
On those studies, are they allowed to take the road trips from another subdivision? Because
I'm sorry, go ahead and finish your thought.
No, I was
Yes,
just wondering,
interrupted.
because then that would be, if they're connecting to another subdivision, then wouldn't they be able to use the traffic from the other subdivisions going through there as part of the road study? Is that what you're saying?
So existing subdivision. Right, like they would have to come up with the what is the current level of service for this subdivision with 50 lots? And then I am a developer who's going to tie into this subdivision, utilizing those internal roads. I would be required, and I would require this, and then the planning board would subsequently likely have a recommended condition, that a traffic impact study be performed to determine the current level of service. So we have that established. And then we can say, okay, how many anticipated vehicle trips per day is this subdivision going to cause to utilize that road? To determine if it still falls into that category of road, local number 1, local number 2, minor or major.
So but I guess I'm having a problem. Let's just say my subdivision, right?
Okay.
Let's say that they build something behind us, and let's just pretend I had a road that ended, and behind me they build 100 houses, and and you say that the developer can build those 100 houses and they can attach to my stone road, okay?
Mhm.
Now, how do we get monies from that new subdivision to help maintain the roads in our subdivision? Because, you know, some are gonna come down straight to the highway, some are gonna come down and go the other way, and so how do we get monies from that, the new development to help maintain our roads.
Through a road maintenance agreement that would be required, likely required, I don't wanna say that, because only the commission can require, but a condition of approval. That a road maintenance agreement would be created for the maintenance of the internal subdivision roads of existing subdivision and said stone road.
Okay, so, I'm just being devil's advocate. So, let's just say that they don't put in that condition. What's the recourse of the people in my subdivision if that's not done?
I don't think you have it.
So whatever they decide, if they decide not to put a condition that they have to help with our road maintenance, we're just SOL.
Which would be negligent on the part of myself to not recommend that condition
Right.
to the planning board. On the planning
I just
board,
said I
yeah.
was playing devil's advocate, cause you know, things happen. Cause what happens, you know, if somebody just doesn't think about it, what if something happened and, you know,
Mhm.
just,
That's why we all use our smart brain.
I'd have to have one first. I'd have to have one first.
On the record.
No. I'm just trying to think of these
Yeah.
things, cause you know, as time goes on, you know, this stuff's gonna come up.
It is going to come up, and it's going to come up more and more and more as the county is getting further developed.
As we get more
Um,
condensed,
Yes.
yes.
And to the other side of that, you know, we don't really want to be creating these siloed subdivisions.
Right,
Not silos, but siloed in the sense of they're all on an island and they have their own roads that connect to the main road. You know, I'm a big proponent of interconnectivity, and I know Dallas and I have disagreed on this previously with the closure of Flynn Lane. Because in my brain, if that were to, which I agree now with you, I'm gonna also say that on the record. But you know, but it was the sense like with Flynn Lane when they were wanting to close it, because now I can't think of what that other road is. Please help me. That
6
Flynn Lane,
Mile.
6 Mile. 6 Mile, now they would have to come all the way down, out and around to get to see someone, you know, to get to Flynn Lane, which is such a short turnaround. So if you can envision 6 Mile to Flynn Lane, well, there was that cut across there that made it easy. That's an extreme example, because there's not a lot of residential use on 6 Mile, Flynn Lane more so. But in any case, so if we're creating these siloed subdivisions where we're forcing traffic out to the main roads to then turn to go to the next subdivision, right? Like, that's not super beneficial. We want to have the interconnectivity, but
well,
at the benefit of all.
right, so then, you know, do we need to put in here, if we're gonna open it up so that we can connect subdivisions, do we then need to put language in here that says that not just maybe we'll make a condition, but if there is a connection to a subdivision that has privately maintained roads, there needs to be an agreement between the two subdivisions for road maintenance.
I don't think that we can do that, because you can't force the existing subdivision to work with the new subdivision. And when I say force, that seems a bit extreme, but, you know, the new subdivision is at the mercy of the commissioners. They either comply or they don't get their development, is essentially, right, they comply as in, you know, with the conditions of approval that the commissioners have set forth.
So, but then at the same time, so if we open this up, the commissioners say, you need to work with, the stone place with their maintenance, and Stone says, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not working with you.
Mhm.
So then we would all of a sudden right there have the power to stop a 500 home development just because we would not do that. We would not work with them, because it would be part of the conditions.
No, because it says that you can access it. Isn't that what it?
A condition may be imposed.
Shall provide access and utility easement to adjoining lands when access to those lands must pass through the subdivision.
It says a condition may be imposed to provide for such continuation of roadways between adjacent subdivision parcels. So,
But in C, it's developing subdivisions shall provide access and utility easements to adjoining lands.
oh, it was, I'm looking at B,
Right.
the last
But-
sentence of B. Oh, but
Yep,
what is
no,
C?
and rightfully so, that was a good point. But in C, and again, I'm assuming provide access means vehicle access as well, not just utilities. That might be a big assumption here. But to adjoining lands, when access to those lands must pass through the subdivision. The developer may be required through a condition of approval to provide legal rights-of-way easements, and the access must be constructed in accordance with these road standards. A county may require the extension of road easements to the edge of such subdivision property to facilitate future subdivision of adjacent lands if appropriate. So that seems as though we are already giving them the opportunity to cross the Stone Manor Estates.
Now we're getting
So now, but Stone Manor Estates says, well, you can pound sand, but it seems as though there's already being allowed access no matter what. So it behooves Stone Manor Estates to
The developer may be, let me look at.
to
the-
work with the new. I don't know. I mean, again, maybe I'm playing devil's advocate, but it seems as though that's what the
Oh, well,
the
wait a
verbiage
minute.
is saying.
uh, I think they added, if you look at the old C, which is number 3, and the new one, there's more language in there, so I almost wonder if the language that they added in there has to do with B. Cause it says
think so.
through a condition of approval, which in the old language, there is no condition of approval. So they've added
So-
new language on that one also.
So it seems that they're kind of pushing towards, you will give them access, and if you want to let them, if you want to get your pound of flesh, it behooves you to work with them.
The biggest thing, I think, is if, for the subdivider to make sure that the people who buy those lots know that there's an easement that goes through there.
Yeah. But then the other side of this is the new, and again, this is probably what we've been arguing about the whole time, but, telling the new subdivision, hey, you really ought to work with the old one. But how do you, to
How
what
do you enforce
extent?
that? How do you enforce that?
To what extent, I don't know.
Yeah. And that's the big issue with privately maintained roads is, privately owned, but public access is kind of like, huh? What? I'm just bringing up all this stuff because we will run into issues with it, no doubt.
Doubtlessly.
So I guess our decision is, if we're all okay with it and we would just want to go on our merry way and deal with it when it comes up.
But I think there's enough language in these regs that we will be able to do that in the new ones.
I think so.
Okay.
Like you say, I don't know how to begin to write it down. How do you get this out?
I don't know, and I think what'll happen is the first time it happens, and the first time there's a subdivision that won't play with another subdivision, and there's access roads, and they don't want them to drive through there, that's when the rubber will meet the road.
Yeah.
We'll find out if there's enough meat here to be able to abide by that. Okay.
Do you happen to know if this added verbiage was from Mako?
I think, I can't say with full faith and confidence, but I do know that Kay had stated that she took the Mako version, the
Okay.
Mako model regulations.
Okay.
We married them to ours.
And obviously not that Mako is the end all be all and the best thing ever, but it's what we have chosen to align ourselves with, so there's a little bit more teeth there, but yeah.
Okay.
So what's the next one in line?
Oh my goodness.
I
that-
think it's J.
Oh. Dead end roadways was highlighted, but I don't know that anything in it changed.
I read through it and not a lot, has changed.
Okay.
We added the figure.
Still, yeah, the figure's been added, but, still 1,500 feet for a cul-de-sac or a dead-end roadway of any type, which that's for fire department emergency service benefit, really is where that stems from. We made it through G, right?
Yeah, we went through G. So it looked like on J, the bottom third, that addresses will be assigned to all lots within the subdivision. That was that's
Oh,
added.
Yeah, we need to get rid of that. Good find. Because I do not assign addresses prior to filing the final plat, simply because if there are optional roadways for a driveway, then that way each owner of the property comes in, fills out their form with their name on it. Then too, we have some recognition of whom applied for it.
So we're
So
deleting
I
that.
wanna get rid of that, if we can, please. So under
That's the
J-
last two? Last two
under
sentences?
J, the last two, the second to last sentence, road naming will meet the standards. I think it'll still have to meet the standards, so the second to last sentence in topic J, or in section J, excuse me.
So what does yours have in there?
Addresses will be assigned to all lots within the subdivision prior to the filing of the final plat by the county planner.
You said you're on J?
J.
Yes.
Well, there's nothing
Road
highlighted in
naming
this one.
and road signs and addressing. Nothing highlighted. Okay, so we wanna cross off that addresses will be assigned. It's the second line from the bottom.
Oh, addresses will be assigned to all lots within the subdivision prior to the filing of the final plat by the county planner.
Right.
You're taking that out?
Yes.
Correct.
And then it looks like they deleted on our old regs the second, the rural addressing in unincorporated areas.
Which page is that on?
63 of
On
the
our
old.
existing.
60, what does it say?
Rural addressing in unincorporated
Oh,
areas.
to provide for time, oh, we got rid of that whole thing?
It appears that we've deleted that whole thing.
Do we have unincorporated area? Yeah? Why did you
No,
get
it's
rid-
on page 70 of our proposed now, so it just got
Oh,
moved. So
okay.
probably 74 of yours, Janine. Letter P as in Paul.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, they did move some stuff around, so.
And I'm not sure where
Oh,
K
it's
came
O. Yeah, this isn't confusing at all.
K went back to page 56. Under VH, small letter A.
Oh, adjacent. Okay.
I don't see where it changed. You know where anything changed?
Yeah, I'm not,
Just
haven't seen
moved.
anything.
Let's see, traffic impact corridor.
I think all that was pretty much the same, it just got moved to a different spot in the regulations.
Oh, and then under M in general design, subsection 2, relation to subdivided areas. The developer shall arrange the roadways to provide for the continuation of roadways between adjacent parcels when such continuation is necessary for the convenient movement of traffic, effective provision of emergency services, and the efficient provision of utility easements. So maybe that's,
Which one is it?
it's, M.
Oh, subdivision roads?
Section M, general design.
Oh, general design. See, mine are, everything is different, so it's kind of like, I'm like.
Oh, your letters are different too.
Oh,
Yeah, I knew.
everything's
Oh, they
different.
are?
Yes,
I thought
everything's
I knew she
different.
was- yeah, she
Everything's
was-
different. I'm just like, I'm
So
trying
under,
to just.
yeah, under general design, it's under this math problem that makes you go cross-eyed.
Yeah.
No, because that's not, there's no
That's- oh, that-
general design under there. I have rural improvement districts.
Yeah, then the next one is.
Then my next one is subdivision roads.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so I'm like, that's why I'm just kind of like going mad over here, because I'm kind of like going this page and this page and this page and this page. and-
Okay, so you got.
Not, oh,
So we gotta find general design for you.
yeah, so I'm like even looking, I don't even see a,
I'm concerned that we're moving off of this, but that is what's on.
and that's what I'm saying, these are,
Right.
they aren't even the same, they're not numbered the same, nothing's the same. So that's why I'm saying if you're working off of yours and I'm working off of this and the commissioners are working off of this and the public, the numbers aren't the same because like your M, my M is subdivision roads. And that's why when you were saying the P, no, it was O for me.
Okay.
You know, it was like, no.
Yeah,
I didn't know that
subdivision
that
roads is
changed had
N
been
for
made.
us.
And see, subdivision roads for you is N and
Yes.
L.
Yeah.
Because we really should be using the same copy. Well, obviously, the
No.
planning board should be using the same copy, but the same one available.
Oh, see, my N is
Exactly.
intersections
And then all of the
And
amendments
ours is O.
made at the
Yeah.
end.
ours is
and
all-
rural addressing, traffic study, improvements, and what am I looking for?
Relation. Oh,
I
got lost
don't
on
even,
this.
yeah.
General
no.
something?
General design.
general design.
Yeah, I don't even have a general design.
So
under
M,
roads.
which is, I think, N,
Is intersections.
do you have anything that says general?
Well, that's what I'm looking for, no.
Well, I mean,
You have
I
rural
don't know how we can
improvement.
continue.
Mm.
And it would,
Rural
just future
improvement district.
reference.
Oh, yeah, that's,
When we make changes,
that was.
they've gotta track those changes.
Oh.
We need to be able to
Oh, no, that's
see a list
addressing,
of
rural
the changes that are
improvements.
made,
I
not
have
be
improvements.
totally the changes.
So that you can review it.
Yeah.
which is
On your own time,
Q.
Our Q is traffic study, so, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It was bad enough we were trying to keep up with the old ones, now the two
Yeah.
new ones aren't
Yeah, I
ready
don't
either.
know, I do not know what was changed, in that section.
Did you say improvement design?
General.
General
We're,
design.
we're
General.
getting there, you have half of it.
I had the word design, I just
So-
have design improvements, I don't have general.
Do you have one that says relation to subdivided areas? That's a subsection, it'd be a double, or it'd be a Roman numeral.
What did you say?
Relation to
Relation.
subdivided areas.
Relation to subdivided areas.
Yeah, that's,
I'm not,
puts everyone at a disadvantage, because now we don't know what is proposed.
we have to have one uniform copy that we're working off of, the public is working off of, and the commissioners are working off of, so we're all, because if we say yes, what are we saying yes to?
Right.
And what are the commissioners saying yes to? What document are we saying yes to?
And no changes should be made until the commissioners, approve them.
But,
Right, so
but
there
we're,
should be a whole track changes document, like Deanna said, where proposed changes, but then when it's made to the commissioners, these are the proposed changes to
Yeah.
the amendment, even as it's being reviewed. It's not a work in progress, because otherwise you have to go back through and relook at the whole document again every time.
this just seems like, I'm sorry, but this is just not really working, and, I mean, because it's not fair to us if we say we're going to approve something and give it to them,
Right.
but we don't really know what
What you're
document it
approving.
is that we're approving
Right.
and giving to them.
No,
Because,
it's not.
yeah, and we have no idea what it is the lawyer's gonna hand to them next week,
Are they meeting on it next week?
No.
No, that was just a,
It was originally on for the 3rd, and then I asked them to take it off since this meeting. I'm not sure, where we were at, to give the planning board time, obviously, to review the changes, but now I'm not really sure where to go from
Can I
here.
see
I don't
your-
wanna start over.
We were doing really good
We
till
were
you
doing
brought
really
in
good.
these two copies that don't
no, but
match the
that's,
rest of
but
this.
actually that's
So I'm
good,
glad,
because
I'm
we
It
glad
don't,
is,
that we
yes.
found that the two copies don't match, because I wasn't even looking at the one online. I should say, I glanced at it to see the highlights, but I've been utilizing my copy, which is
Yeah.
also not the one that's posted online. Mine is the original one that was presented to the commissioners and the planning board.
we all have to be working from the exact
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
same
And for
copy.
the public, they
Yes.
have to
Right.
be looking at the same.
They have to be looking at the same piece. We can't have, all these others should be just thrown away, because none of them, the markings on the bottom here are exactly the same between that one and this one. There's no way for you to tell from the bottom that this is a different document.
But I think you're right, we are gonna have to start from the beginning, because if we're not gonna use this, this is where my notes are.
And then
So
the
the
other,
only,
sorry, go ahead.
the only thing that we're gonna bring to it is our memory. So we're gonna have to,
And
You
we're
still have
all
one?
Right on top of that one.
huh?
And we're all right on top of that one. that
Yeah,
memory thing.
exactly. So, yeah, it looks like we have to start over.
Utilizing the versions that's online that will, absolutely must remain untouched.
And show,
And
like
I
you say,
would,
the, I don't know if it's a Word doc, but they
Right.
you could show the,
there has to be something on there with the version number and we have to be able to track changes. It cannot be a PDF file, because a PDF file is, there, we can't edit it, we can't track changes, we can't do any of that. It should be a document so that if there is changes made to it, we can make it electronically. We can keep all of our changes tracked, and it has to have a version number on it. So like, even after, you make your tracked changes, if you accept them, you've got a new version.
But no changes should be made until the commissioners adopt those changes, because this is a commission document.
Right, right.
Right,
It's a,
so
I mean, it's a
they're,
regulation. that's-
Right, right.
have a
so the
resolution.
track changes need to be put in as proposed
Yes.
Yep,
changes.
Yes, yeah.
yep.
And not, I see what you're saying about the version, but there shouldn't be versions.
Right, but that's why we have, but I mean, you put it on there just in case, because all these different versions, they're all named the same. The thing at the bottom, it just says amendment and then a blank space, but
Well,
yet,
that's the difficulty that we're going to run into in multiple meetings, is because that's it. The track changes can be the only thing that, on the margin, that's the only thing that can be added until the bitter end.
Until the commissioners adopt it.
Right.
Okay.
And I don't know what that document will look like. Maybe it will have to go to the commissioners as a marginalized.
I mean, but that's the way we do things at work. Everybody goes through track changes. I mean, we're going through contracts that way. We're going through processes and procedures that way. Everybody puts in their tracked changes, and when the higher up that decides what goes in, they accept, and that's that.
But in this
then-
instance, the track changes needed to happen.
At the very
At the
beginning.
very beginning, and then it gets uploaded as proposed changes, and then that does not change.
Right.
Yep.
Until the
And-
final.
And I think you can lock it so that we can look at it as a document, and we can look at the tracked changes, the proposed changes, and we might be able to, you can give certain people authority to make notes on it, but they can't change the document. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Well, does everyone have your calendars? I guess why am I talking? I'm sorry, Ed. Jeez. It's hard for me to not be bossy.
Well, you're the one that knows more about this.
No, I
stuff,
don't. I do not.
So we're definitely gonna have to go through this again. So do we know how much time we have before the commissioners are gonna be doing anything yet, or?
It's
Is
not
it-
scheduled. It's off of the agenda.
Okay,
So we are not under a time crunch in the sense of, doing it before a certain date for the commission meeting.
Because they can't do anything until we've gone through it, correct?
Correct.
Right.
How,
So they're waiting on us.
how long?
But when is it that we will be able to get a good document
Yeah.
with the tracked changes?
I think an option, this is just an option, start with the version that you have, Janine.
Okay.
Because it's, and I'm saying Janine's version because it's the one that's on the website now. It's fully highlighted, all of the amendments. Then that's the document that we start with. Like, that becomes version 1. So there will be
Okay.
no track changes on that document. The track changes will come as a product of our
Meetings.
utilizing that document.
Okay.
That's just a thought. Instead
Sounds
of going
good.
back and tracking changes, working backwards.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
But for future.
So I think
For future.
I think some
There
of
will
us
be,
are available January of next year.
Okay.
maybe.
What about the end of December?
Well, I was thinking maybe the day after Christmas. I mean, we all got summer plans, come
I know
on
this
now.
is hard. Yes.
Just kidding.
No, I know this is hard, and sitting in a meeting is the last thing you want to do.
Oh, I'm
Another
good.
option, we do not have to live stream these. I'm only streaming it because that's the way that agenda was advertised, but this is indeed a working meeting. So these do not need to be live streamed with minutes. So we could go longer. We don't have to utilize this room. Obviously, it's the obvious choice, but anyway, I know we've had some meetings, this hurts my heart to say this, but if we went from like 10 to 2 and the county provided lunch, I know we've done that before on some working meetings where we just tried to just power
Pound
through
through it, yeah.
as much as possible, but I'm not saying that's the only option.
My schedule's fairly open. I know it's these guys that, you know, have some farms and have some other work, and, you know, Deanna, you have some stuff. I've been pretty, I've been fairly open, so I will, try to work within their schedules.
And I'm here no matter what.
Dallas's schedule is if it's raining out one day, he could do something.
Yeah.
It was really,
Yeah, yeah, I just got a text, there's breakdowns and problems that I gotta go
Well, I would
handle.
say not July 2nd. I could do July 9th, potentially, but not the 16th or the 23rd.
So July 9th, you said?
I could
I
potentially
think
do the 30th.
I can't do that one.
Okay.
does it have to be on a Tuesday, or can it be
No.
another day of the week?
It can be
or-
any day of the week, and that's what I'm saying, we don't necessarily have to utilize this room. I can do my best to find us another location if this room was reserved, so I would more like to consider having a quorum than having the room available, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
Since
Go,
it is
we'll
a
go over
working
to the
meeting.
church and borrow their room.
We can go to the church, we could go to, you know, I'm
We
not
go to
sure.
the fire hall.
The
too.
fire hall.
Oh,
Sure.
yeah, you got the fire, you got that
Yeah.
whole big room back there.
Yeah.
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 And as long as we posted a sign, you know, and kept it open to the public, you know, so, which is why someone's house might not be the best choice.
Right, right.
But the fire hall, yeah. So let's not be.
Dallas,
terribly
is there a
concerned with
day
the
that
availability
works
of the room.
any day of the week, or are they
It's
all just as
so-
bad?
Yeah, it's so up in the
Like
air
I said,
and,
it's the only day he's got is when it's raining out, so.
right, it just,
It's supposed to rain on.
I was gonna say on Thursday it's
Oh,
supposed
Thursday,
to
okay,
rain.
Thursday,
Mm.
But you can't even count on that around here.
Another option too, if I get these to you, a lot of this work can be done not in a public meeting, to where then when we're going through them, and I don't mean that to say we're making suggestions outside of a public meeting, as in you would be doing your own individual homework on the regulations and highlighting some areas of concern, to where it would expedite the time in the meeting somewhat. I mean, we're
Oh,
still going to
making
have
notes and
conversation.
bring it in, yeah, or
Right.
homework, doing
Yeah,
homework.
We can't have conversation outside of a public meeting, but you can do individual work. But I also, that pains me to say that, because I appreciate all of you volunteering your time. I'm not asking you to volunteer more time. This is important.
That was mine, yeah. Somebody's texting me.
Okay, so not the 9th, so we're out of the first week of July, we're out of the second week of July, third week of July, what is everyone's availability?
I'm out the 3rd week and the 4th week of July,
Okay,
which is fine. I don't.
in a
have to-
perfect world, I'm gonna be cutting winter wheat.
What, in July?
Oh, yeah. This year is,
It's not winter yet.
we're too, we planted it in the winter.
Oh.
Yeah. plan
oh,
it
is that why
fall.
it's called that?
Yeah.
It has to freeze.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
So you
interesting.
plant the seed, and as long as the seed swells and freezes, it will
Oh.
produce seed.
Kind of like some of those trees that really like their roots to get
Mhm.
in the freeze
Yeah.
balls.
So that's why spring wheat, if it freezes, it's
It
not hardy
dies,
enough
huh?
to.
Oh, interesting. Learn something new every day.
Yep.
So we're into the last week of July, which is Fair Week.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm certain that some of you may be,
Yeah.
Good Lord.
This summer has just gotten crazy.
And I'm out the
It's
1st
so
and
busy.
2nd week of August.
okay.
What'd you say? You're not good the first and second week of August either?
No.
Hmm.
But again, don't work it around me. I don't have to be here. I have very, very busy.
So the fourth week of July, I know you said you'll be gone, but just so we're not pushing it out too terribly far.
Right.
What is everyone else's availability? Dallas, I understand you're tentative.
Yep.
The fourth week of July, so that's 22nd through the 26th.
I'm good. I think I
I'm
took
good
that
on
week
that
off from
one,
work.
too.
What'd you say, Ed?
I should be good on that one too.
Okay. Do we want to shoot for a Tuesday,
Sure,
the 23rd?
sure.
And then Deanna, if you think about it, if you have comments, you can always email them to me too.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not trying to schedule
no.
this around your schedule.
Please,
But if we went around your schedule,
Fine.
we'd be into school time.
you would be.
And then she'd have
Then
school.
we'd really be busy.
And so what did we want to do it at the same time too, or?
23rd, do you want to do 2 o'clock?
I don't
And
know.
let's schedule it here pending the room availability, otherwise we will be moving to the fire hall.
Okay.
23rd, 2 o'clock. Well, or we can go sooner too.
It doesn't matter to me. I
How
think
much
I
of a
took,
nap do you want?
What's that?
How much of a nap do you want?
What's that? Yeah. I get those. I wanna go back to when I fought him.
Mm-hmm.
Smack that kid.
Right?
I better go.
Okay.
all right.
Yeah, we'll just.
See you. Thank you.
Play it by ear.
Okay. 23rd at what time?
I don't think it'll go anytime.
I think I took that week off, so I'm fine. I'm available.
And you
that
want to
week.
have a meeting?
Well, you know, it is what it is. I'm just being home that week. I'm not going anywhere.
Should we start at noon?
Sure.
Does that work for you, Delge?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a Tuesday?
That's a Tuesday.
Yeah, if anything changes, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Either took that week or another week. I don't remember. Oh no, that's July. Oh no, I took a week off in June.
Okay.
Do we need a motion to adjourn?
Yes, we do. So I can turn this off.
I motion, we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, so I have my copy, so these guys need to get their copy of the,
Mike has his